At 7:10 p.m., please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a silent prayer or a moment of silence as your conscience finds appropriate. Thank you. Please be seated. Members of the council, you have before you lost my pen. An agenda. Are any changes or amendments required to that agenda?
Mr. Mayor, without objection or changes, I so move to approve the agenda.
Well, there's one other, okay, that's fine. Is there a second to the motion?
Seconded.
Okay, is hearing no changes? Is there any discussion of the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, before we move with that final call, you hesitated on the motion. Could you please elaborate?
Yes, there's another item underneath the agenda now on the, or underneath the agenda on the agenda, which is a request for whether there are any conflicts of interest on agenda items for any members of the council. So we should ask that during the discussion.
Okay, so the motion stands.
Yes. Hearing none and hearing no discussion, are there any public comments on the agenda? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua, looks like he has not yet arrived. Councilmember Henry?
Aye.
Councilmember Richardson, I don't see her on the list either. Councilmember Mayers, as I said earlier, has been delayed. I abstain, the motion passes 3-0-1. That takes us on the agenda to proclamations. I have 2 of them this evening. So I have to get up on my screen so I can see them. The first is a proclamation regarding the 2021 Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas the mayor and council commit to operations, programs, initiatives, legislation, and resources that support the town's tree canopy, therefore be it resolved that the town of Riverdale Park mayor and council do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day in the town of Riverdale Park, and call upon everyone in the community to observe this day with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies. And next in Spanish, Proclamación 2021 Día de Árbol, considerando que en 1872 Sterling Morton propuso a la Junta de Agricultura de Nebraska que se reservara un día especial para la plantación de árboles, y considerando que esta festividad llamada Día de Árbol se observó por primera vez con la plantación de más de 1 millón de árboles en Nebraska, y considerando que el Día de Árbol ahora se observa en todo el país y el mundo, y considerando que los árboles pueden reducir la erosión de nuestra preciosa tierra vegetal por el viento y el agua, reducir los costos de calefacción y refrigeración, moderar la temperatura, limpiar el aire, producir oxígeno que da vida y proporcionar un hábitat para la vida silvestre. Y por cuanto los árboles en nuestra ciudad aumentan el valor de las propiedades, mejoran la vitalidad económica de las áreas comerciales y embellecen nuestra comunidad. Y considerando que el alcalde y el consejo se comprometan con las operaciones, los programas, las iniciativas, la legislación y los recursos que apoyan la Copa de los Árboles del Pueblo. Por lo tanto, se resuelve que el alcalde y el consejo de la ciudad de Riverdale Park proclaman por la presente el 30 de abril de 2021 como el Día de Árbol en la ciudad de Riverdale Park y exhortan a todos en nuestra comunidad a observar este día con programas, actividades y ceremonias apropiadas. And the second proclamation is for Earth Month. We're having sort of a green set of proclamations today. Whereas care for the earth is central to our survival, and whereas Earth Day has evolved from the 1970 teach-in on college campuses to 51 years of action involving 190 countries and more than 1 billion people, and whereas despite ongoing efforts by many, the Earth remains in dire need of attention and action on the local, state, national, and international levels. And whereas there is a need to expand the local tree canopy to improve water quality, to reduce waste and litter, and to educate each other on improving the environment. And whereas the town of Riverdale Park has established a vision and commitment to sustainability and has created a sustainability committee, which is comprised of active and dedicated volunteers, focused on improving the local environment. And whereas the town of Riverdale Park has developed the Go Green initiative and associated grant programs, installed energy efficient features and fixtures on town buildings, and incorporates sustainable practices into its daily operations. And whereas highlighting April as Earth Month provides the necessary focus while advocating for Earth Day everyday action. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the town of Riverdale Park do hereby proclaim April as Earth Month and encourage all residents, businesses, visitors, and employees to join with the Riverdale Park Sustainability Committee in taking action every day to improve our planet and to make our lives and the lives of future generations healthy and sustainable. Y ahora en español, proclamación del mes de la tierra. Considerando que el ciudadano de la tierra es fundamental para nuestra supervivencia, y considerando que el Día de la Tierra ha evolucionado desde la enseñanza del 1970 en los campus universitarios hace 51 años de acción que involucran a 190 países y más de 1,000 millones de personas. Y considerando que a pesar de los esfuerzos en curso de muchos, la tierra sigue necesitando urgentemente atención y acción a nivel local, estatal, nacional y internacional. Y considerando que es necesario expandir el dosel de los árboles locales, mejorar la calidad del agua, reducir los desechos y la basura y educar a los demás sobre cómo mejorar el medio ambiente. Y considerando que la ciudad de Riverdale Park ha establecido una visión y un compromiso con la sustentabilidad y ha creado un comité de sustentabilidad que está compuesto por voluntarios activos y dedicados enfocados en mejorar el medio ambiente local. Y considerando que Town of Riverdale Park ha desarrollado la iniciativa Go Green y los programas de subvenciones asociadas, ha instalado características y accesorios de eficiencia energética en los edificios de la ciudad e incorporar prácticas sostenibles en sus operaciones diarias, y considerando que destacar abril como el mes de la tierra proporciona el enfoque necesario al tiempo que abogo por la acción del Día de la Tierra todos los días. Ahora, por lo tanto, se resuelve que el alcalde y el consejo del pueblo de Riverdale Park proclaman por la presente abril como el mes de la tierra y alientan a todos los residentes, negocios, visitantes y empleados a unirse al Comité de Sostenibilidad de Riverdale Park para tomar acción todos los días para mejorar nuestro planeta y hacer que nuestras vidas y las de las generaciones futuras sean saludables y sostenibles. Muchas gracias. Thank you all. That brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is summary of the fiscal year 2022 proposed operating and capital improvement budget.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for this opportunity to share a summary of the budget. Mr. Jones is going to get into the numbers and explain the proposed budget, and then we will be releasing the budget book at the end of the week. Along with the budget committee and the leadership team, we appreciate the few extra days that we need to do the final proofread of the budget book. So we will be releasing that at the end of the week, or by the end of the week. And without delay, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, John. Good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. So tonight's summary of FY 2022 proposed operating and capital improvement budget shows a balanced budget. We have a proposed budget amount of $7,787,817. Tonight is, again, it's just a summary, and we'll briefly cover the major categories that we have, both on the revenue and expenditure sides. And then when we do present the actual budget, we will go into detail of the specific details of each category. So to begin with the operating side, operating revenue side, we have local taxes, which continues to make up a majority of the revenue. Real estate taxes will increase, while we do expect a decrease in the personal property tax. This due to no longer receiving Purple Line revenue. We're also staying consistent with our local income tax revenue projections. So that puts us at a proposed amount of $6,602,098. So that explains why we're at an estimated amount of $6,738,000 and slightly moving down to $6,602,000. Again, we're staying consistent with our revenue projections. We don't want to overestimate with all the uncertainty, but local taxes will still make up a majority of our operating revenue at 85%. Next category is licenses and permits. We are projected to exceed the approved budget amount. We have an estimated actual of $217,000. The approved amount was $179,000. But we are staying conservative. We're raising the proposed amount to $205,985. For the current fiscal year, we did receive more multifamily license revenue than we had anticipated. So that's the reason for that $217,000 figure. For administrative fees, we're keeping the proposed amount flat. That we had a $3,900 approved amount, and we're keeping that amount for the proposed budget. For fines and forfeitures, we have a projected amount that's closer to our estimated actual. So we've reduced that amount to $46,000 from the $53,000 that we had in the approved budget for the current fiscal year. For automated safety programs, speed camera revenue, as we've discussed in many of our previous meetings, has outperformed significantly, but we're keeping that proposed amount consistent with what we had approved for the current fiscal year, staying relatively conservative there. For our intergovernmental revenues, we're keeping that figure closer to our estimated actual amount, which is 143,000. And for reimbursements, rebates, and refunds, we're keeping that figure consistent and flat with the estimated actual amount. So the last category is other revenues. This category includes transfers into the operating account from other funds. So this was a tight budget, and we had transferred over $100,000 from our OPEB and health and wellness funds in order to balance the budget. So we had revenue was down for the current fiscal year. So we have an estimated actual amount for 96,000. This is due to receiving significantly less investment interest income. And we also didn't receive a medical insurance surplus refund as we had anticipated. So our estimated actual for the other revenues category is 96,931, but we have a proposed amount of 241,000, which is up significantly, but that's where the transfer amount to balance the budget sits. So overall, we have the proposed revenue amount for 7,787,000, up from the approved amount for the current fiscal year, which was 7,251,000. So we do have a modest increase from the current budgeted amount to the proposed amount for the next fiscal year. So the next part I'm going to cover is the operating expenditure side. The first major category is salaries and wages. So salary and wages, they make up a majority of the budget, like previous budgets. At 50%, we do have a modest increase in salaries. This is due to compression issues that are finally being addressed and with the police, and raising raising the minimum salaries that we had in previous years. Benefits has gone up as well. When you have higher salaries, the benefits will reflect as well. We had a medical insurance increase as well, and we had to contribute more to defined benefits. So salaries, benefits, and wages, we're going to see an increase there for the new proposed budget. Overtime is up slightly from our estimated actual, but it's lower than what we had as an approved amount for the last fiscal year. For contractual services, this is up from the approved budget. We had an approved amount for 802,000, and we have an estimated actual of 987,000. The reason for this increase is that when we bring in more speed camera revenue, the expenditure side goes up as well. So that explains the large increase there. And what we may have to do moving forward is a budget amendment, because we have exceeded what was budgeted to be spent for the current fiscal year. So for operating, they're up slightly from the previous fiscal year to 773,000. The other expenses category is up about 20,000, and the increase is due to the street light revenue. Street light expenditures for public works. We expected a modest increase there. Weather response services, we're keeping that amount the same at the 23,500. Municipal center buildings, we had a slight decrease from 59,000 to 55,000. Community events, slight increase from 42,000 to 43,000. And the last section is community grants, where yeah, it's pretty flat as well, 76,000 in the previous fiscal year, and we have a $74,000 amount for the current fiscal year. So overall, we do have a balanced budget of $7,787,817. And that's where we'll land for the for the proposed budget. When we do present the actual budget, we will go into much greater detail with the specific categories that we have on here. But yeah, that covers the summary of the FY 2022 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Are there any council questions about the budget summary? I'll note that Councilmember Lingua arrived at some point between perhaps during this presentation.
Right around administrative fees.
Very good.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, I wanted to add just one or two points that I think may assist the council and the community. So, you know, we make 5-year projections. And so when we look at our expenditures for the proposed budget, and we look at what we projected they would be, we are 2.15% off in our projections. It's not a bad projection to be 2% off. So I think on the expenditure side, to be just a little above 2% of what we projected. And on the revenue side, we're being conservative. So when we look at our actual revenue brought in fiscal 20, our projected revenue that we're projected to bring in this year, it is more than what we are projecting to bring in next year. And so we have really worked hard, the team has, to create a proposed budget that recognizes the uncertainty of the year ahead. We ultimately did not make or include a recommendation to raise the contribution for employees in the defined benefit plan. But we believe the defined benefit plan is something that the staff need to pull some information together on and have the council examine and weigh in on the plan and future changes to include changes to employee contribution. But I, at the end of the day, didn't want to make that part of the budget discussion where it would be reliant on balancing the budget. I think it's going to take careful study and analysis to determine how we address the defined benefit plan. The healthcare cost did go up by 18%. And the employees, while not paying a higher share, percentage share, all employees that participate in the plan will see a fee increase for participating in the healthcare plan. And then I think the percentages that Mr. Jones highlighted are very telling when we look at where the money goes. So when you look at the top 3 lines there, your 73% of the budget is in your staff, their benefits and their salaries. So that doesn't leave much room. And when you look at the lines below, the salary and benefit lines, when you compare the increases, other than the contractual services, the increases are all very modest. And again, contractual services were that line is being increased both with speed camera revenue. We did get hit with PNC has charged us, I believe it's $26,000 that's in the budget for managing the fund. We used to pay under 10,000. I think it was like 6,000 or so that we used to pay PNC. And so their fees have gone up. Legal costs have gone up. And the actuarial cost for the defined benefit plan, which has to come out of operating, it cannot be charged to the plan itself. All those costs have gone up. So I just wanted to highlight those things, and we look forward to presenting the full budget to you all at the 2 public hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. I look forward to examining the budget in detail. I have a few questions here, but I'm sure they'll be answered better by me reviewing the full budget than by asking questions at this point. So thank you. Are there any other council questions or comments? Are there any public comments? Okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda. And the next item is my
comment, if I may.
Yes, please.
A little trouble coming off mute. Town manager kind of made the comment that I was going to make about the difference between the approved, but FY21 approved and the estimated actuals and that percentage difference. And I want to say, yes, that is very impressive and well done.
Okay. So, okay, that will take me to the mayor's report. I need to start out the mayor's report by reporting on a closed meeting. We had a closed meeting on March 15th. The reason was to consult with counsel on a legal matter, and reason number 2, consult with staff consultants or other individuals on pending litigation. And the topic of the meeting was discussing an ongoing contract dispute with a vendor and possible pathways out of that dispute and the legal hazards and possibilities of that particular issue. And the council was present. All members of the council, except for council members Henry and Richardson, were not. As I usually do, I want to discuss the current status of the COVID pandemic. And I'll start by saying that, that it recently became a bit more personal for me. I have a good friend who I found out on Saturday through another good friend is in the ICU. He's not on a ventilator, and he's doing actually a little bit better today than he was 2 days ago. But still, he's very sick. He's just a few years younger than I am. He's in much better shape than I am, very healthy person. And I am hoping and praying for his quick and complete recovery from this. In the pandemic, we have the variants, the mutations of the virus that are perhaps make it more transmissible, easier to transmit, or more difficult to take care of with existing treatments. And those are in a race with the vaccine. The vaccines, we now have multiple vaccines being used, the Johnson & Johnson, the Moderna, and the Pfizer/BioNTech vaccine. And there's a much increased availability of these vaccines. Just this afternoon, Governor Hogan announced that that all residents of Maryland who are over age 16 or older, should register, and starting next Tuesday, can schedule appointments for receiving the vaccine. And so that means that there are no more restrictions. We're out of the phasing. Anyone who wants the vaccine should sign up for one and get it. And I strongly recommend that. Touching back on the variants, I have a weekly phone call with representatives of the state governor's office. And at the meeting last Friday, they stated that the UK variant, the technical name is B117. They said that they are not certain of this, but it is probably the most prevalent in Maryland, and it is much more contagious than the version that has been here. And so that means that while we wait for the vaccine, and even after individuals have received the vaccine, until the levels of virus get down, we need to maintain our safe profile and be careful and wear masks and avoid large gatherings. You all know what we're asked to do, and I hope that that's the case, that you are doing it. Cases in Maryland are they were heading down for a while. They are now sort of flat, maybe increasing slightly. And just to give an idea of what's going on around the world where the vaccine is much less available, France last week, I believe, started a 4-week second lockdown. So they are confined to their houses except for emergency travel. And in Brazil, the death rate, the number of deaths per 100,000 population, has increased from late February, just over 4 weeks ago, by a factor of 3. So the number of people dying there are 3 times on average more than were. So there's still a virus out there. We're still in a pandemic. It's still very dangerous. And please be careful, please. On to another topic. This is covered in the correspondence summary, but I just wanted to say that the new membership of the MUTC committee was approved by the planning board a few weeks ago, last week. And I welcome all the new members to the board. I think that this committee has been very important towards the revitalization of our town center, and definitely was very important as part of the K-Fritz project coming to town. And so I'm pleased to have some new members. The slate that was recommended by the council to MNCPPC were approved, so that's good. Those of us on the council are all well aware of this, I believe. We have an election on May 3rd, and the petitions to be on the ballot are due this Thursday, April 8th at 5 p.m. And I'm encouraging everyone, based on the ongoing pandemic, to consider voting absentee. An absentee ballot will be mailed, or has been mailed, as part of the April town crier. Ballot application has been mailed as part of the town crier. And I hope that you'll take advantage of that and vote safely. Of course, if you wish to, you are allowed to vote on May 3rd, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Town Hall. And as I close, I thought of mentioning this under my earlier COVID report, but we passed the 1-year mark of the lockdown in Maryland, the time when we were all told to stay home, when restaurants were shut down, when many businesses were shut down. And it's been a hard year. Many people have died, many people have gotten sick, many people are still sick, even after a nominal recovery from the virus. And there's a group of people, which is the town staff, who have been tireless, both at doing their jobs and at doing jobs that weren't theirs to start with, and helping out the town, the members of the town, the residents of the town, and the members of the council. And I want to give them my strongest and most sincere thanks for their year of very difficult service and more service going forward. And with that, I will close my report. Thank you all very much. If there are no questions, I will move on to the town manager's report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and members of the community. Very brief this evening on COVID. I just want to second everything that the mayor had said. And that's the message that I share with the staff team at our weekly meetings. 2 items. One, reminder that we have the budget public hearings, one on April 17th, it's a Saturday, and one on April 24th, also a Saturday, both beginning at 9:30. And if the mayor and council members would like a printed budget book, please let Ms. Barnes know. And we're trying to live up to our green commitment and only print books for those who want a printed copy. And so if you can email or text Ms. Barnes with your request. And that's all I have this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Are there any questions for the Town Manager? Hearing none, let's move on to the monthly finance report.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you, John. Good evening, Mayor and Council again. Tonight's finance report is similar to the ones that have been presented in the past. I'll be covering the last month's revenue and expenditures and then year to date. And this report is, of course, subject to audit. So for March, FY 2021, the current fiscal year, revenue was $213,026, with expenditures totaling $320,102, the deficit of $107,076. For year to date, we are at $7,525,000, which has exceeded the budgeted revenue amount. And for our expenditures, we are at $4,881,000, leaving us at a surplus, a net surplus of $2,644,000. So where we're at right now, we do like where our revenue is. We're at the $7,525,000 figure. We have exceeded our budgeted revenue amount. We do project to flow in an additional $107,000. We've been in contact with Unicap, and they have confirmed as recently as Friday that they still project $107,000. So that number will go up by the $107,000 for revenue. Expenditures are very similar to where we were last year. We're continuing to be very, very conservative in monitoring our expenditures due to the uncertainty. And this, the figure that we're at right now, it does include the significant increase that we've had due to Safe Speed expenditures. With more revenue, that means more lookups, and then, you know, a higher expenditure figure for the speed cameras. So we're continuing to monitor our expenditures. So yeah, we do like where we are at, given the circumstances that we are all facing. So yes, that concludes the finance report for March. And I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Are there council questions about the finance report?
Mr. Jones, to be clear, what you're seeing here in that revenue number is due primarily to the increased amounts coming from the speed camera revenue?
Yes, we do see an increase due to the speed camera revenue. That's
predominantly what that increase is.
Mm-hmm.
Is due to that. Okay, just want to make sure I heard that right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there additional council questions or comments on the finance report? Are there any public comments or questions on the finance report? Councilmember Lingua, would you like to make a motion to adopt?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt tonight's revenue and expenditure report, finance report, subject to audit.
Seconded.
I believe that Councilmember Foe had it by a nose. So is there any discussion of the finance report? Kind of don't think so. Someone was asking questions. Any public comments? The motion to adopt. Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Henry.
Aye.
And Councilmembers Richardson and Mayers are not here. Councilmember Richardson arrive? No. Okay. I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-1. Okay, next item on the agenda is the correspondence summary. We display the correspondence summary for our visitors.
Brian?
So those are the significant letters that were received. Are there any public questions about the correspondence summary? All of the backup materials can be gotten from the town if you wish to see the documents. Seeing no hands go up, next item on the agenda is the fire department report. Do we have a representative of the fire department this evening?
Don't believe so, sir, and we have not received anything.
I did not receive anything either. Okay, that brings us to council, committee, and board reports. So let's start out with Councilmember Dixon.
Mr. Mayor, I do not have a report this evening.
Thank you. Councilmember Foe.
Good evening, everybody. As we have been doing a lot during this pandemic, Mara and I have been continuing walking around Riverdale Park, and I am amazed at the beauty of our little hamlet here near Washington, D.C. It's remarkable, and everywhere that I look, I just see incredible spaces that still can be improved upon. Every single day that I walk past the Field of Dreams and I see that sidewalk and I see those 14 or so trees that have been planted, I'm filled with pride. But I'm also filled with this anticipation of what comes next. What are we going to be doing? When can we start those dialogues? When can we engage this community? That's just the type of person I am. And I oftentimes have these dialogues with the town manager. And we were talking about this the other day, and as everybody knows, this is budget season, right? And we're in the middle of a pandemic, so there's nothing that supersedes these dialogues. But what he had mentioned is later in the year, potentially bringing people together to have summits. I love this idea, and I shared that with him when he suggested this, to discuss, our tree canopy or how we approach pocket parks in this community and things like that. And I am super excited to be a part of those discussions. I think that's a tremendous idea, and I can't wait till we as a community can start moving in that direction again. I was walking down Somerset today, I think. No, let me look on the map, not Somerset, Ravenswood. And the park at 40, I've pushed the pocket park at 48th and Ravenswood for a long time. I just think it's an incredible area where we could be unique, not necessarily bust the budget, but a place that we can be unique. I drive on East-West Highway and 54th Avenue, which has brought some violence into our community over the past year. There's a great little park, a great little space at the end that you can view off East West Highway where I think some plantings could do some great work. I know that these spaces exist in every single one of our wards. And I am excited to have a dialogue about how we can continuously look to beautify and activate spaces within this community. It truly has, it is remarkable, and it still has remarkable potential. So I am excited about that. Secondly, and this gets me just super excited, rain check rebate time. I was just looking at the website, and total maximum rebate amount for the lifetime of a property is $4,000 for residential properties and $20,000 for commercial, industrial, or institutional properties. We have a plan this year. I'm involving my friend and constituent Chris Fike, because he has the engineering skills that I absolutely do not possess in any way, shape, or form. What we want to do is connect 2 rain barrels on a raised platform connected to an outdoor sink and a gardening table and a hose using a pump. So I can utilize rainwater to get to some of our vegetables, our herb garden, and some of our gardens beyond that. It is environmental. It is good for our community. As you know, we have rainwater issues in this community. And part of that is going to be financed by Prince George's County. I can get $2 per gallon on a rain barrel. So if I put two 45 gallon rain barrels side by side, I can get $180 towards the purchase of those. So that minimizes that impact. And I think that's such an incredible program that so many property owners are not taking advantage of. So remember, just look up, it's the CB Trust, but if you look up rain check rebate in Prince George's County, you are going to find that. I encourage you all to utilize that program. And it's not just for rain barrels. It's 7 types of stormwater practices are eligible for rebates: rain barrels, cisterns, rain gardens, urban tree canopy, pavement removal, and permeable pavement, and green roofs. So you have an opportunity to do a variety of different projects. And if you're thinking about any of those things, start filling out the application. I've filled out my applications. I'm waiting on approval from the wife, and we're gonna get moving forward with this project. I'm excited about it. Speaking of the wife, I know I mentioned this at the work session, but maybe we have some new listeners here tonight. My wife is currently 99.7% pregnant. So that may disrupt my abilities over the next few meetings. I take this job very seriously. I would never miss a budget meeting under this administration, under this town manager. They are the 2 most informative meetings of the entire year if you want to see how our government operates. We frequently use the phrase, what is that, budget is a moral document. I think I've heard a lot. It truly is. It shows where our tax dollars go to. It is a complete and comprehensive understanding to how we operate, and it is available to everyone. So I would encourage, 1, everybody to try and attend those virtual meetings. 2, I've been told as long as she is not in labor, I am allowed to attend. So that's where it's being set for me at this point, is as long as she's not in labor. Now, I'm not making any promises, but I just want to let everybody know, particularly my constituents, is that if I am forced to be absent during one of these meetings, I assure you that I will reach out to fellow council members. I will reach out to town staff. I will make sure that I get a rundown of everything that I need to know, and I will be prepared with that budget information. And last but not least, I wanted to get a little bit personal because I wanted to let you know where I've been in my life. I've shared this with a couple of staff members, or a staff member and the mayor. I've had some health issues recently. In December, I started getting some stomach problems. In January, that migrated to side problems, and invariably that led to head problems, anxiety. I guess becoming sick and about to become a father have ramped up and allowed anxiety to punch me in the chest. I know a lot of you haven't seen me recently. People are quite shocked when they do. I've lost 40 pounds. In that environment. It has been quite a trying time. And the reason that I am sharing this, and I shared this with my classrooms as well, is I want to destigmatize dialogues about mental health, right? And I look to the mayor and his wife, Sarah, who I've shared this information with, as just truest of possible friends. If we destigmatize these discussions, people will be more willing to seek help and improve in that. I have a group around me that I trust inherently, in a mother and a sister and friends. And they have encouraged me to seek help. I have had, my body's been through a tremendous amount. I've had CAT scans, I've had abdominal ultrasounds, I've had an upper endoscopy. I was worried, but I was over worried. I'm looking on Prince George's County's website right now, and there is a 24-hour emergency hotline for anybody going through any mental health issues, 211, and they can, if you dial 211, you can find a healthcare professional that'll help you if you are having any of those thoughts at all. But I just wanted to let you all know that this, like the mayor said, this has been an incredibly difficult year. Right? Being absent from our normal ways of life can impact our mental health tremendously. And I just want to let you know you are not alone. You are supported. If you ever need anybody to talk to, I am always going to be here. There are resources available. And the second you feel comfortable talking about it is the second that you will start to feel better. And I just don't want anybody in our community to be trapped feeling alone in their mental health. You are supported, you will find support, and you can feel better. And with that, I yield my time.
Thank you, Council Member. I really appreciate you speaking out on this topic. It takes some bravery there, and appreciate it. And I agree that mental health issues do need to be destigmatized. So thank you. Councilmember Lingua.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to take a second here because that was quite moving, Councilmember. And I wish you well. I wish you both well. I wish all three of you well. I wish all four of you well, being that you got a pup at home as well. And if you need anything, don't be bashful, all right?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And my other thing, piece of advice for you is 45 gallon, go bigger. Come on, you're gonna want to use it.
I was thinking the same exact thing. You have no idea, especially now that I got an engineer on my side. I feel like I can do anything as long as he's doing it. That's it.
Exactly. Go big. Might as well. You know, might as well. You're gonna be having you're just gonna want that garden to grow, and I know the lovely Mrs. will as well. So go for it. And you'll get more money back too. So there you go. But no, in all seriousness, best wishes for you for everything you got coming ahead. You got a lot of people here who'd be happy to be obliged to do you a favor. So.
I appreciate that, Councilman Lingua. We were just talking about this outside, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made was running for council, because it's really how I dove in and found this thing, community, that we all search for, and it's been the most remarkable feeling. It is we've found that here in RP, and like that response to this is, you know, a sign of that. So thank you for everything. I appreciate it.
Sure. With that, I'll move on to award report, and as I always do, greetings to all of you out there in council Zoom stream land who are participating tonight. And as I normally do, after that, I follow up with the latest from the Central Kenilworth Avenue Revitalization CDC. They will be having a meeting tomorrow evening starting at 5:30 on Zoom. At the March meeting, I shared with them the town's approval of the $155,000 to be used towards Ward 6 for public right-of-way improvement, and they were very happy to hear that, and wanted to pass along their appreciation for the town's commitment to that area. At the meeting, CDC President Dennis Nola turned the meeting over to Emily McGarvey, who is part of the Standards of Excellence Committee at CDC, and she reported on changes to material that had been previously presented. The board was asked to approve the sections of the new sections on the grievance policy and the form associated, the whistleblower and retention policies, the executive succession plan, as well as the retention schedule. And the next distribution from the committee will be on resource development, finance and operations, and internal controls. There was a motion made to approve the revisions of the documents for Standards of Excellence, which was unanimously carried. After that, President Nola introduced Corwin Macklin, who was a guest at the meeting, and he's a consultant from Maryland Nonprofit. His background is in organizational development, and Mr. Macklin will be working with CCAR to help build capacity there. Mr. Macklin gave a synopsis of his background, and he also led a discussion on which of the objectives he could help the board with, and provided an overview on how over the next year the board could build capacity and reach goals going forward. His PowerPoint presentation showed where CDC was from an assessment of from essentially the time period of 2018 to 2020. He made clear that the CDC had come far, but that there was some work going forward that the CDC wanted to address from about this time period to March 2022. Some of the things that he touched on is to increase the number of board members, where there are now currently 5 vacancies. He suggested that the CDC look at standing committees and try to get away from the use of ad hoc committees, and also the continuance of board training on the standard of excellence. Mr. Macklin also suggested a staff development plan, a review of the current strategic plan, and to develop a risk management plan. Mr. Macklin then took the board members through a strategic goals assessment, and he recommended that the board carry on with accreditation requirements of the Maryland Nonprofit Standards of Excellence, also outline a capacity building work plan, also develop a 1-year operational action plan, continued funding, and also to continue also plan for continued funding for the Greater Riverdale Initiative, as well as revisiting objectives. That was the extent of his presentation to the board. The board is going to be discussing that in the future, and be working on that in future meetings. Again, at this time, I would suggest to folks out there listening that if you do have an interest in greater community development, my suggestion is to get in touch with either myself or President Nola or Executive Director Patricia Parker about becoming involved at the CDC. In regards to the Sarvis Cafe program, construction is moving forward. The group has been meeting weekly to essentially discuss items on the punch list. Once more information comes up on that, I'll be happy to pass it on. This past week, as the mayor was out of town, I had the honor and the opportunity to swear in 2 new officers to the Riverdale Park Police Department. One of the things that was made known to me was that the current class that these officers graduated from totaled 10 candidates were in that class. 2 came here, 6 went to county, and the other 2, I believe, became sheriff, if I remember correctly. Normally, classes are much bigger than that, and there's usually several classes going in. So the reports that we've heard previously that essentially the pool for candidates for police officers has shrunk to a puddle is by no means an overstatement or an exaggeration. It is very small, and I think we're very fortunate that we were able to have 2 graduates from this recent class. I welcome them to the town and tell them that they are joining a well-run organization and that they have some really well-trained and upstanding officers of which they can learn from. And I encourage them to tap them whenever, as resources to continue their development as well as police officers. And with that, I will conclude my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Lingua. I join you in welcoming our new officers to town, and I hope to be able to meet them virtually, at least in the near future.
I hope you do.
Okay, let's move on. Councilman Henry, Ward 4.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone out there. I want to say it was quite touching to me to listen to Councilmember Aaron, Ward 2, on what he shared with us. I thought that was very touching and so compassionate for what you did. Sir, I want to thank you for what you said, your bravery and the courage for saying what you did. That goes beyond approach. You're just remarkable, and it touched my heart to know that, yes, sir, that you would put that out there, and it speaks a lot about your character and who you are, and your candidacy, and that means a lot, because if someone of your caliber is affected, then we all are affected by this tragedy which we face in our community. And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for speaking out, because we went through hell last year, and we're still going through it. We're not done yet. We've heard reports from from Dr. Fauci and, and from all the other doctors throughout the nation. We've heard reports from our local mayor giving reports on COVID-19, and it's just staggering to think that, we're still in the same, pandemic that we faced a year ago, and, prayerfully we can get through this, and we just have to stay strong and stay focused and, and be concentrated to get through this. So I thank you all for your efforts and what you're doing going forward for this, to try to mitigate and to eliminate this pandemic, because it's been lingering too long and it's just time for it to be over. Amen. I will say that I want to thank, as always, I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank the administrative staff. I want to thank Public Works. I want to thank the police. I want to thank the dispatchers that take our calls, day in, day out. That's been there, and it's been trying for all of us. I've never stepped off the platform ever since this pandemic has started. I've been there, day in, day out, going to work every single day. I've just been there, as a trooper, and that's what you all have been doing. We've all been there as troopers, throughout this pandemic, and it's just amazing that we're still here. We've got families and we got our own stresses we got to deal with, but we keep surging forward, and we keep wearing a smile where pain may hide, and it's just amazing. And people don't recognize that, this is it's a thankless job, and we know it, but we do it anyway, because we do it for the love of the people that we support, the people that we, the people that depend upon us, the people that expect leadership from us. And so we do it in the good faith of that and of that good nature. And we keep pressing on because of that. And that's what gives us strength to press on through this pandemic. Folks, I've got to tell you that I hope we all had a good Easter. I hope we went out there and we had some type of joy. We don't know, Easter, barbecue or whatever we do, try to get, with family, some of us, not a lot of us, but we try to get with families and we try to have a happy time. And, I hope that was fun for us while we could make as much as possible out of it. I will say that I spoke to my sister in Toronto, and they're in lockdown in Toronto right now because of the surge. So it's as the mayor said, it's not over. It's still over. It's still going on. Excuse me. It's still going on. So don't let your guard down. Keep your guard up. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Social distance. Just avoid people. And that sounds cruel, but avoid people as much as you possibly can, because that's where it's at. That's what's spreading it. We're spreading it. So let's just be mindful of that and just, adhere. And, it has to go away at the end of the day. Folks, I got to tell you that after a decade and a half of being on the council, it's time for me to hang up my gloves. And, it's time for me to just move on and pass the baton on to someone else. I have enjoyed being on the council. I've enjoyed being a representative of this town, and I've enjoyed being just a part of everyone's life that has touched me, and I've touched them, and I would not, trade it for anything. It's just been a phenomenal experience for me, and I want to thank all of you. Even when we've had differences on this dais, it has made us all stronger. All of us has made stronger, irregardless of our circumstances. So I want to thank you all for that. It's time for me to move on, folks. And, I say this in the humblest of ways. Speak up. If you don't, then you won't be heard. And if you're not heard, then you won't be listened. And thereby, you can complain of being not heard. So, in the words of my famous mother-in-law, you know, do things in decency and in order, and it will be fine. We'll be fine. We lost one of our dear residents in our community here recently. The Reverend lost his wife to COVID-19. I am so sick of this. And of course, we all banded and supported, you know, for him and for his wife. But I just can't wait for us to get out of the woods with this. And I pray that we all be cognizant and just do what's right. Folks, get your shot, wear your mask, wash your hands, and social distance. I want to thank the Chief of Police, Chief Morris, for the outstanding work in which he's done. Over the years, he's picked up big boots from Teresa, who was our previous chief. And our previous chief, excuse me, I don't remember, but I do remember Teresa being our chief. And he came in and he just did a spectacular job. And so, you know, big kudos out to him. Big kudos out to the Public Works Department. Big kudos out to our administrative staff. Big kudos out, and you know, TM. I know you got big shoes to fill, and I know you're walking in them, and I know you're doing the best you can. But I know it's difficult. But if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll be all right. I would say to the administrative staff and the financial staff is to you know, watch our overhead budget. If we can cut some of that, cut it. And let's think about the people who are here. And let's try to bring some, you know, reciprocity to them so that they can continue to live here and not be so penalized. Penalized may be a harsh word, but not be so impacted by the taxes in which we pay going forward. So with that being said, I thank all of you for all of what you're doing, because you know, over the 16 years in which I've been here, it's not the salary that kept me here. It's diligent to do what's right for people, and that's what's kept me here, from doing the right thing for people and speaking up for people who don't want to speak up for themselves, who are afraid to, or you know, who just don't know how to. And so that's our job. That's our job, to speak up and to take an impact and to speak up and to do things that's right for people. And so, you know, I compel you all to keep doing what you do. You're doing a remarkable job, regardless of your differences, regardless of how you feel towards the result of whatever that we're talking about. Speak up, be heard, say your grievance, get it over with, and be done with it. But speak your mind, and forever let there be peace. Mr. Mayor, I rest.
Thank you, Council Member. I want to be the first to thank you for your decade and a half of service to the town, and we all know that that you have not ever been afraid to speak up and speak your mind. You will let us know what you're thinking, and stand up for what you believe in. And you've done great things for your ward and for the town over your time here. Your many years of chairing the Public Works Committee, and your recent time chairing the Public Safety Committee. You've just had an enormous impact on the town, and I very much appreciate all of the energy you have poured into this job. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Henry, I just want to say thank you for your kind words that really resonated with me. And I just want to say thank you to the service for this town. For those of us that do the job know that sometimes it's difficult. And I just want to say thank you. I can't imagine, I'm 4 years in and 15. How long have you been on the council?
It's been over a decade and a half, sir.
Decade, it's a remarkable commitment. So thank you for your time. It's appreciated.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Please.
I concur with the sentiments you shared, and as well as sentiment shared by Councilmember Foe and Councilmember Henry. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure these years serving with you. Thank you for doing so.
Thank you, CM.
And I echo the same sentiments. 10.5 years, I don't even know if I will make it that long. It is a difficult job, and though I'm sure it hasn't gone unnoticed that we don't always see eye to eye like the mayor, I thank you for always holding the rest of us accountable and never hesitating to speak your mind and state your position. So I wish you all the best in whatever your future endeavors are. If it's just to rest and not have a minimum of 2 meetings a month on your calendar, but I echo everyone's sentiment in thanking you for your service.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thank you so much, CM Dixon. Thank you for your comments. I know we've had some rough edges at times, but it's all good. It's all good. I thank you. I think you're a great contributor to the council, and I respect that. I respect Councilmember Aaron for your tenacity in which you bring and your vocalist, for which you dispel, and Councilmember Lingua. I know. We all know you can be a little lengthy at times, but, it's okay. You got the facts coming with it.
I try to make brevity the soul of wit, but sometimes it escapes.
Just speaking truth to power. And, Mayor, we've had our contentious times, but hey, you know what? It's made us better. It's made us stronger. And, it's made us a community. Listen, I love all of you, regardless of our differences. Listen, I'll share this with you, and then I'll be quiet, I promise. If you look in your right hand, you'll notice you got 5 fingers on there. And if you notice you got 5 fingers on there, you'll notice that every single last one of them are different. But you know what? They all have to work together. Because if your little pinky is hurting, guess what? So is your thumb. So we all got to work together. I'll leave you with that, my loved ones. Okay? It don't matter. We all got to work together. I love you all. And I know you're going to do great things going forward. Mr. Mayor, I rest. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I have just a moment?
Of course.
Councilmember Henry, on behalf of the staff team across our departments, I want to thank you for your insight, for your questions, for your leadership, and for helping us produce a better product to move the town forward. And I thank you for all those things sincerely, sir.
I'm not going to cry tonight. Goodbye.
Okay. With that, let's move on.
I deeply, truly love you all.
And we love you too. Thank you so much.
Indeed.
And we expect you to stick around a while. We got a few more meetings for you. You can't sneak out the door yet.
I know. I still got to be a pain. I know.
Okay. Let's move on. Next item on the agenda is public comments on non-agenda items and on consent agenda items. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, let's move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is a special set of items that we move to approve as a block and do not debate. So may I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
Motion to approve. Sorry. So moved beat what I was saying.
Okay, I'll take Dixon as the maker and Foe as the seconder of that motion.
Good choice.
And no discussion, so we'll move immediately to a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Councilmember Henry.
Aye.
Councilmember Richardson and Mayers are not around this evening, and so I abstain. Motion passes 4-0-1. That brings us to legislative action items. Item number 1, motion to send a letter to WMATA opposing the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority opposing the proposed closure of the College Park Metro stop.
So moved.
Seconded.
That's fantastic. You guys are like being all Robert's rules now. Okay. Motion made by Councilman Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Okay. Is there a staff presentation? Or is this just the draft letter?
There's the draft letter, sir, and it addresses College Park Metro as well as the impact on Metro Bus Route 86 and the shortening of Metro Bus Route 83. So it's to cover those topics.
Okay. Any comments on the language of the letter from council members?
I'm happy with the language in it. My thought is I know this is going to WMATA, and my thoughts were about possibly CCing other parties on this as well. Is that something that staff has considered?
Absolutely, sir. Who would you like the letter to go to?
I think this would be something that would be good to go to the 22nd delegation in Annapolis, as well as the office of Congressman Hoyer, and as well to the offices of Senators Cardin and Van Hollen.
I would suggest adding Congressman Brown to that list also. He
Sure, I'm happy with that too. We could do that too.
We will make sure that they all receive a copy, sir.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other council discussion of this this action item? Are there any public comments? Okay, if there's no more discussion, then I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Is that an echo I heard?
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Henry.
That was me that said that.
Uh-oh. Do I have somebody else voting for like 0.5? Aye.
Thank you. Councilmembers Richardson and Mayers are not in attendance this evening, and I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-1. Next item on the agenda is a motion to authorize the donation of $850 to Riverdale Elementary School for parent English as a second language ESOL classes from the undesignated social concerns line item. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved.
I'll say that was a motion by Dixon, seconded by Foe. Is there a staff discussion of this item?
Ms. Parks?
Certainly. As we discussed last week, this is a request from Riverdale Elementary School for some additional supplies for their parent ESOL classes. There's some things that they need, such as new textbooks and flashcards and just overall supplies. We already have in the fiscal year 2021 approved budget, $650. This additional $850 could come from the undesignated social concerns fund if approved by the mayor and council tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Are there council questions or comments on this, this action?
Yes, if you have any dialogues with any person involved with Riverdale Elementary, one of the biggest issues is outreach to Spanish-speaking parents. It's a cultural divide about engagement with students and teachers. There's a level of respect and autonomy granted in their culture towards teachers where they don't have a tendency to question teachers or reach out to teachers, and it creates this chasm. And one of the ways that they have always tried to target it was through these ESOL classes, helping Spanish speakers acquire English language to be able to communicate more effectively with educators. It's a problem that I deal with firsthand in my own job. And I think this is an incredible idea that we should get behind as a support, because it increases the likelihood of parents following through with educators, creating communication lines and increasing productivity from our students. So I think it's a great program, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Thank you, Councilmember Foe. Any additional council comments or questions? Any public comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, when it comes down to authorizing or making a motion to make English a second language, it kind of rubs me it rubs me the wrong way, because this is the United States of America, and so I need to understand, clearly, what is our intent here when we are an English-speaking country, and we're saying that English, for parents will be a second language. I need to get more clarity on that, if you would.
Councilman, it is. It's trying to teach them. It's trying to teach them better English speaking skills. That's the focus. It's their second language. So they're Spanish speakers that are trying to learn English. So the focus of the program.
Okay, so as the question regards, Mr. Mayor, do you confirm or deny or affirm what the CM is stating, that this is what this is all about?
That's exactly what it's for. So there are many recent immigrants to the country who don't have very good English skills, and this will help to fund classes and practice so that they can learn better English.
So with that being said, could that language be worded a little bit differently, whereas English is not the second language, or the second language? Because the way I'm seeing this, the way I'm reading this, is that English is no longer the first language; it is now becoming the second language. Therefore,
so this is standard terminology within the school system, talking about people whose first language is something other than English, and they have classes that are. I've actually seen it also expanded as English for speakers of other languages.
Yes.
And so if that makes it more clear to you that that this is English classes for speakers of other languages.
It's a poor acronym that is used throughout the community of education. The one that I prefer, Councilman Henry, and I is English language learners. ELL is commonly used in that. So this is specifically to teach English.
But the program, as I understand it, within the school is called this, and so we're trying to designate where the funding goes. And so if we want to make sure it ends up in the right place, we should give it the name that the school uses.
Okay, I take a deep breath on that, and I don't mean to be biased on any part here. I'm just being neutral as I could be for defining the language what is being disseminated for us to interpret. And is there additional language that can be expanded on to delineate what it is that you have articulated, both you and Councilmember Allen has already articulated on what you have said? Is there something that can be articulated just for the overarching granular public?
So can I suggest a rewording of the motion that you might be more comfortable with, Councilmember? And we can see if it's accepted as a friendly amendment. I'm making this up as I go along, so it may take me a few tries to get through.
Absolutely. And the only effort here in which I'm enduring on is not to upset any class of ethnicity within this regard, so to speak. So that we're all clear that it's not being a bias or a spirited, effort here just for one class of ethnicity. That's my focus here.
And I understand. So my suggestion is to change the wording to be motion to authorize a donation of $850 to Riverdale Elementary School to fund teaching parents who are not native speakers of English, better English language skills through the ESOL program.
Much better. Much better. Very good. Short notice. Very good.
Hey, I used to be one of you guys and have to make these up myself, so I had a lot of practice.
I like it.
So, Councilmember Dixon, is that wording acceptable to you as a friendly amendment?
Yep, that's fine.
Councilmember Dixon?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, that's fine.
Councilmember Dixon? Councilmember Foe, excuse me?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, so we'll accept that as a friendly amendment to the language. Ms. Barnes, did you capture the language, or will you pick it up from the recording?
I will have to go back, but I will have it. Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, with that as being the new motion, is there additional discussion from members of the council on this motion?
Nothing further from me.
Are there any public comments? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Councilmember Henry?
Aye.
Thank you. Council members Richardson and Mayers are not in attendance. I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-1. Next item on the agenda is a motion to authorize a donation of $1,500, to Riverdale Elementary School for positive behavior intervention supports program for the positive behavior intervention supports program from the undesignated social concerns line item. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to
hand that off to the first ward.
Okay, so motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Dixon. Is there discussion of this motion among the council?
I can. I teach at a PBIS school, and what they are trying to do is incentivize through specific gift certificates or pizza parties, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do this virtually, but I'm certain. What I equated it to is Book It growing up, where if you could read a book, you would get a sticker, and you could go to Pizza Hut and get a little pan pizza, and it was an incredible program to help promote behaviors inside of a school that you want to. It's incentivizing behaviors. And it's worked effectively at our school. And I can only begin to imagine the difficulties that Riverdale Elementary has had through virtual learning. And I think that these kind of programs are going to be at this time a spectacular ground for our teachers to actively recruit participation from students. If you can just offer a little something at the end of the rainbow. So that's my knowledge on PBIS.
Thank you, Councilmember Foe. Are there additional comments or questions from members of the council? Are there any public comments? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Councilmember Henry?
Aye.
Council members Richardson and Mayers are not in attendance. I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-1. Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item. Motion to repeal and replace Resolution 2021-R-02, confirming appointments and establishing compensation for judges for the May 3rd, 2021 town election. Before we have a motion, if we can take just a moment, I want to see what names are in there. I have a few others to work through. If you can scroll down. So I thought there were more than that on the most recent version. Okay. So as I understand it, we have election judges. Let me see if I have a different version. I can find my.
I provided a name for Ward 1, an additional name in addition to Kate Kelly being the deputy.
Yes, if you scroll down a little bit further, there's the replacement resolution that should have all of those names. There we go. Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, very good. I thought it was going to look different than that, so I appreciate that. So we've added election judge Heather Cronk for Ward 1, Karen Matthews for Ward 5, and the Reverend Willie Corbett for Ward 6. We have 2 alternate election judges, Joshua Spann and Caitlin Harwood. We have 2 empty slots. I have a few calls out, but they haven't returned them. I hope that 2 will be enough, but we can perhaps have a special to bring the last 2 on. And that is the election judges. Is there any discussion of the current list? Oh, actually, I wanted to add one more, which is 3rd alternate election judge is Terry Archsmith. And with that, can I have a motion?
Mayor Thompson, I'm sorry. I think we have a mistake on one of the names for Ward 5. I think it's actually Brenda Matthews. I'm looking back through my text messages from council member.
Okay, so Brenda Matthews for Ward 5 and the addition of Terry Archsmith as an alternate election judge. So with those changes to what's in front of you, can I please have a motion?
So moved. Seconded.
I'm not even sure who got that. I'm going to give the motion to Councilmember, was Lingua first, or was that Councilmember Dixon? Did Lingua speak?
No, Lingua didn't even speak. So
okay, so Councilmember Dixon made the motion and Councilmember Foe has the second. Okay. Any discussion of the motion? Any public comments? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry,
Aye.
Council members Richardson and Mayers are absent. I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-1. And if we can next go to the next item, repeal and replace resolution 2021-R-03, appointing members of the Board of Election Appeals. That was the original. And in the replacement, is there a Ward 5 appeals or not? No, okay. So we have four slots in the Board of Election Appeals. Again, I have a phone call or two out, and perhaps we can pick that up before the election itself. But we're adding Letitia Jennifer as the Ward 4 member of the Board of Election Appeals. And so with that, may I please have a motion to approve the repeal and replacement of the Board of Election Appeals membership.
So moved.
So moved.
The second was Councilmember Henry, is that right?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there any discussion of this, this motion by members of the council?
You know what? No, I don't. I'm sorry. Lost it.
Okay. Are there any public comments on this, this item? Hearing none, I will move on to a vote, roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Henry.
Aye.
Council members Richardson and Mayers are absent, and I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-1. I have to tell you that when I'm doing the roll call vote, then I imagine the dais and all of us sitting at it, just so you know how important that is to me to get back there when we can safely do that. Okay, with that aside, let's move on to new business. We have a letter of request from the city of Greenbelt for cost sharing of expenses related to the superconducting maglev draft environmental impact statement review. So at the work session, we discussed this to some extent. And I said I would reach out to Mayor Byrd of Greenbelt to get clarification on some both procedural issues and financial issues, how much of a cost share was being expected, what the timescale was, what the plans were. Town Manager Lestitian reached out to the city manager of Greenbelt as well. I had a brief conversation with Mayor Byrd last Wednesday evening and said I had some detailed questions. He asked if I could send them in writing and he would get back to me the next day. I submitted the questions that evening, and I did not hear back from him. And so on Sunday evening, I sent a follow-up letter to the Mayor Pro Tem, Emmett Jordan of Greenbelt, and CCing the Mayor of Greenbelt. And the mayor again sent an email back and said he would contact me today. I haven't heard from him. In discussions I had earlier this afternoon with the town manager, as I understand it, the city of Greenbelt has, in fact, gone through a bidding process. And so they have identified a law firm, and that this expenditure is to occur entirely in this fiscal year. And the city manager was not aware of what other municipalities had been asked for assistance, and was also not aware of sort of an overarching strategy for this. And so providing the information that I've done my best to collect and that the town manager has done his best to collect, I'm ready to open discussion on this item. I guess one other issue is just in discussing the amounts. The number that I initially said that I was thinking, and admitting that I had not gotten guidance from the council, was something in the range of $5,000 to $10,000 in this year. It sounds like there's some possibility there will be more action in the next year. And I spoke to the town manager about that this afternoon. He said that that amount of money would not require a budget amendment, but going higher than that might well require a budget amendment. So in discussions, just please keep that in mind. Any discussion?
I mean,
or does anyone want to make a motion?
Go ahead, Councilman.
No, go ahead.
All that I was going to say is it seems that we lack information that I think is pertinent to the subject. So I don't feel comfortable speaking on it. I would be intrigued to know what other municipalities are joining and have the mayor access some more information, you know, before supporting this wholeheartedly. But that's it. So the floor is yours, Councilman.
Well, I know we talked about this last week, and it just, you know, since then, I've had conversations with the town manager as well, and I think a number of points that he brought up there seem to make sense regarding going forward on this, in terms of, like, as you said, finding out, about finding out some more information on this, in terms of what essentially College Park strategy is on this, as well as buy-in from other municipalities, and looking to be, as this is something more of a coordinated effort, as opposed to really just allocating funds to the city of Greenbelt and essentially letting them do the lion's share of the advocacy. I think this is something that we all need to advocate on. That said, I think, you know, an amount of 10,000 going forward probably seems to make the most sense in terms of expediency, and also is an amount that keeps us in a good frame in terms of what might be asked of us in the future.
Well, part of the logistics, and Mr. Town Manager, please jump in if I get any of this wrong, is that we can do the $10,000 out of this year's funds essentially, you know, in a single motion to move some money between funds that have existing resources and set up the parameters of the transfer to the city of Greenbelt. And so my suggestion would be that we hold off until the work session. And if there's a needed sooner time than that, if I hear back from Greenbelt and they need the funds sooner, then we can perhaps call a special legislative at one of the two budget hearings that we have between now and the work session. We're going to be meeting a lot over the next month, so we can do this at any of those meetings.
Mm-hmm. It sounds very reasonable to me.
Okay, so unless someone makes a motion, then we'll just move on the agenda. Or unless, are there any public comments on this item while we're here? Okay, since there's no motion, we will move on to unfinished business. Or are there any other items of new business? Hearing none, are there any items of unfinished business? May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Foe, seconded by Councilmember Henry. There's no debate of this motion, so I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon. I'll skip back, come back to her. Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Henry. Is he gone?
What? No, you
Councilmember. I think he may be gone.
I believe so, sir.
Councilmember Henry is not present. Councilmember Richardson is not present, and Councilmember Mayers are not present. And just for good luck, I'll vote aye, and we are adjourned at 9:00 p.m.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you all very much.
Good night. Bye.
Good night, all.
Good night.